We're 1 week away from talking about the Open Championship, which means that everybody is across the pond for the Scottish Open this week. We're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. Rory McIlroy is back after his 3-week hiatus. Fairway to Heaven is live, taking all your thoughts and opinions and breaking down this week's event in 30 seconds. And a very good evening, everybody. Welcome all to Fairway to Heaven right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We are live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill. Wherever you're watching, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, follow button. Wherever you are watching, to help get as many people interactive and involved with this show as possible. The number one fantasy and gambling golf show there is on the market today. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel, at Beard and Knowledge. We got Jason Sullivan, as always, sitting next to me, at JSully2121. Good evening, Jason. How you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing great. Like you said, we love this part of the year. We love the Scottish Open leading into the Open next week. This is awesome. This is real golf.
Yeah, it's a great part of the year. We're only like 6-7 weeks away from the playoffs happening. But I kind of feel like when I hit the Scottish Open, that it hits me that the season is almost over. You know what I mean? Because then you get the Open, and then you get a couple weeks of minor tournaments, then you get the playoffs, then it's all over. We're literally like 7 weeks from football season starting, which means the golf season's over. So almost the Scottish Open is almost like the start of the depressing time for me.
It is. It's like the end of summer when you're a kid. Like mid-August comes around, you're like, oh man, I got to go to school in 2 weeks or whatever. It's like it's kind of how I feel right now. It's like it's already the fourth major almost. Like that's crazy. It's wild.
Yeah, it's wild. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. But you know what? We move on. So it is the Scottish Open this week. Last week, you had a great week with Davis Thompson getting his first victory. And I don't know about you, but I always love that emotional first victory on the tour with the wife or the girlfriend or the mom always there. Something about it just always I always enjoy it. And it was again last week with Davis Thompson just running away from the field because after 2.5 rounds, I had every single outright in contention. I had so many opportunities to make big bucks last week, but Davis Thompson just went off on Saturday and Sunday and just, I don't know, what did he end up winning by 3 or 4 strokes? So anticlimactic to an extent, but just a really great round of golf from him.
Yeah, I think he won by 4. So it was funny. Like you turn back and you watch, like I turned on the beginning of the round and I saw what he was doing. And, I think he was 3 up going into the last round. And then coming up, like I watched I didn't watch like the first 6 holes and I came back and he's up like 6. I'm like, well, that's good for me at least. No, I agree with you though.
Jason hit an outright. He had the Davis Thompson. There were a lot of people that were actually on Davis Thompson last week. I had him in DraftKings in a few lineups, which was good. I turned a nice little DraftKings profit last week. Hit a bunch of my top 20s last week. Unfortunately, I had Aaron Rye and I don't even remember who else was outrights, and they were all close, but they just, close doesn't count. So Jason was the big winner last week.
We flipped it around, though. It's funny because you used to be the betting guy, and then I was the DFS guy. Now it's flipped. Now I am just struggling at DFS, but I've hit 3 or 4 outrights. So
let's talk about that. Before we get to this week's tournament, I want to talk about, struggles because, everyone always posts their wins. Like you post when you hit outright. I do. You won a GPP. When I had almost won one a couple of weeks ago, everybody always shares their positives. No one shares their struggles. And I know you're having a downward, tick in DFS this year. I was earlier this year. And people, are afraid to share that they're losing, which it's okay. Most gamblers, most betting experts do lose more, just like everybody else, more than they win. The problem comes when people aren't willing to look at why they're losing and try to adjust. And that's what I did about 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. I started trying to figure out what the details were, why I was losing, what I was doing wrong. I've pivoted. I've adjusted my strategy. I've turned it around. It doesn't mean I won't go back to my strategy of playing 20, 25 lineups a week. But right now, trimming it down and really getting back to the basics really work. Do you think you have an idea maybe what your problems are that have been causing your downward tick in your DFS strategy?
No, but if you do, you can let me know for sure. No, I thought I was locked into 20 max. Like you said, I think switching contests is the way to go if you're struggling. I think finding your niche that what kind of contests are you good at? Some people are better at single entry. I'm not. So I've always been more of like a get as many entries as I can with I'm not going to play 150. I'm not on that level. But
I don't know. There's no way people could do 150 and build their own lineups.
No,
it would just take way too much time.
They use the simulators, which is fine. Yeah. Like some people prefer to do it that way. I was extremely locked in all summer last summer, and up until March this year, it was my best year. And all of a sudden, just like the last 2 months or 3 months, it's weird. And so I'm trying to figure it out right now. I'm trying to tinker a little bit.
I it necessarily has to mean that you're playing the wrong contests. I think you have to look at why are you not cashing? Why are you not, doubling up your money every week? For me, it was stretching my player pool too thin. And I could stick to the 20 max and probably trim my player pool down and do it. But my problem was that I was, trying to zone in on 2 or 3 top tier guys. And then I was picking 18 guys from 69 or from like 7,500 to 6,500, trying to get a little too creative, too cute, and taking away from, all right, there's 3 guys I like, just say. Like this week, I got 4 guys from 7,200 to 6,600 I like this week a lot. So instead of taking those 4 guys plus 5 more guys and kind of being all over the place, just stick to the 4 guys. This week, I've built 7 of my 8 lineups. I got 12 guys in my in 7 lineups. So that was the strategy that worked for me. So you got to figure out, is it because you're going too far out? Are you missing the guys? Are you talking yourself out of guys? Because that's something I do a lot. I always talk myself out of guys instead of sticking to the initial gut feeling. We've been doing this for 4 years. It's not a long time, but we've been doing it long enough where we should trust ourselves to know what we're doing. And I think that, at least to me, I stopped trusting myself and got too creative. That was my mistake, not the contest.
That's the hardest part about when you do start to slump. It's just like anything. Like you start to, like a baseball player, he starts to not trust his process, his regimen. And like, it's the same thing with DFS in a way. It's like, you start to not have confidence in as much. And like a couple of weeks ago, for example, like JT Poston kept popping up in my research. He popped up in my model, and then he popped up in his course history, and then he popped up again of like easy courses. I forget what week it was, but it was like one of those weeks. And he popped up again, and I'm just like, yeah, but he's in horrible form. I can't play him right now. And it's like, dude, he popped up 3 different times in 3 different areas, and I didn't play him. So I think right now I'm not trying to get too cute necessarily, but I think I'm not trusting my process. And you just brought up an interesting point that just made me realize something. I used to try my damnedest every week to not go below 7,000 in my player pools, and I have been a lot lately. Maybe there's something to that. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what it is you get – so like to me, I tweaked my process. I trimmed down my player pool. And also because I was losing so much, I didn't switch to single entries and 3 maxes because I was trying different contests. I just was trying to play less. I was trying to put a less of an investment out there, which in turn now has turned into a more of an investment because I'm doing more single entries than before at higher dollars and whatnot. But I was just trying to limit the amount of time I spent because I kind of feel like sometimes if you're trying to build 20, 30, 40 lineups, which some majors, I used to do 20 max, multiple 20 max. Yeah. And the amount of time it takes to do that gives yourself a chance to trick yourself, get too cute, get too creative. And I probably would have been back to the 20 max by now if it wasn't for the simple fact that I had so much success doing 3 maxes. That's the only reason why I stuck to the contest entries was because I had the success and I'm going to ride that hot hand until it falls off. But to me, it was stop talking myself out of guys. Stop getting cute. You say you go too far down to the 6K. Me, I stopped trying to find the 1 or 2 guys that I liked in that 6K range. Would you rather have one guy in the 6K that's maybe 8% owned in 5 lineups but makes the cut? Or would you rather have 3 guys in those 5 lineups, all at 2%, but 4 of the 5 guys miss the cut?
Right. Stop tricking yourself is all I'm getting at, is what has worked for me.
That's a good point too. And I think it kind of goes back to your first point. Is I think people want so badly to say, hey, I was on so-and-so. I was on Harris English when nobody else was. I was on Joe Schmo, the new guy that nobody else played last week. It's like everybody wants to be the smartest guy. And I think sometimes just playing the picks that are there in front of you, I think, is the way to go. And I think you brought up a good point too. And I say this all the time about hosts of this industry. Is like nobody talks about the bad weeks that they have. You listen to some shows and the way that they talk, you would think that every week they won 50 grand. It's like, that's not happening. Like, so, but you never hear somebody just come up and be like, God, that was a horrible week.
You know how many screenshots I saw of people hitting Davis Thompson for $4 grand, for $5 grand, for $6 grand last week? Because everybody bets bigger than we do, because everybody's rich and stuff like that. But you know what? They don't show the fact that we're not the only ones with minimal outrights. I know you've hit 3 in the last 4 weeks. I've only hit 1 all year. I know we're not the only ones struggling to hit outrights. The one article, well, there's 2 articles I never misread. It's PGA Tout and it's Len Hochberg. They're my 2 have-to-read articles every single week. Mm-hmm. PGA Tout normally averages 8 to 10 outrights a year. He's got 2 this year. You know what I mean? So I know we're not the only ones struggling to hit bets this year, but yet still people only talk about the wins, only talk about the good and the hits. And I think that is something that more shows need to talk about. You know what I mean? Because it humanizes you that you're not the only one you're not just hitting all the time, but also it lets the people watching know, hey, we sucked too last week. You know what I mean? Not just you. And everybody sucked. This year on tour has been so crazy with long shots hitting, first time winners, etc., that I think people realize it and know you're not winning.
And John, PGA Tout, he was on Joe Iadoni's show, Preferred Lines, this week, and they were both talking about it. They're like, I think Joe said he's like 7 second place guys that he's bet on so far this year or something like that. Like, that could easily turn into an outright. It's like, it just sometimes doesn't go your way. And I think the biggest thing is knowing how to tweak your process without changing the things that work. And it's like, and that's different for me than it is for you. So me saying like, I do this and I do this and I do this, that doesn't mean that's what you do. Like, it's just,
I have 10 guys I like every week. Why am I playing 30 guys?
Right.
You know what I mean? Make sure I stick to those 10 guys and get the most exposure as I can of those 10 guys. Because most weeks, the guys that we have in our player pool that make the cut are the guys that we like. You know what I mean? The guys that are missing the cut, that are screwing up our lineups, are the guys that, we're getting too cute with our builds. That's all it comes down to.
I think it's trusting your process and trusting the people that you want to play. Because I know, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that you're like me, where it's like you'll have your player pool and you have your 15 guys that you like, and then somebody will, a respected name will be like, oh, are you guys on Davis Thompson this week? And you're like, oh shoot, I'm not, but maybe I should be. And then you're looking, you're like, okay, well, I don't know why, like, everybody's on him, but then you play him anyway because everybody else starts talking about it. It's like sometimes trusting yourself, like it's your money, so trust yourself. That's why
I'm not using your money. You didn't loan me $100,
DFS, I mean, I'm struggling right now for sure, but like outrights, I started to just listen to myself. Like, I'm not looking at anybody else's picks. I'm looking at my own picks. So it's my money.
That's why I always try to get my outrights in a little sooner than other people, because I don't want to be influenced.
Right.
By like, I don't get them in as early as some people, but I stay off of golf Twitter until I make my bets because I want to get the best plays in as possible.
Exactly.
So, anyway, so we got the Scottish Open this week, the Renaissance Club. We're out in Scotland for 2 weeks, because Royal Troon, where the Open is next week, is also in Scotland, which is great. This is the first week, and this strategy, this tricking ourselves, this conversation about getting too cute, this is the first week where everybody gets way too cute, because there are 60, 70 guys from the DP Tour that no one's ever heard of in the field. Most PGA fans don't watch the DP Tour very, very much, if at all. This is the first week you do it. And I think, first and foremost, I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think DraftKings got it right or wrong, in the sense that not one DP Tour guy, the highest priced DP Tour guy, is McKibben at $7,000? There's nobody above that. They're guys that have dominated, guys that have been in multiple top 10s over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Really priced. All the PGA Tour guys, priced high. All the non-PGA Tour guys, priced really low, which is going to make people try to build a lot. Because I tested this out, stars and scrub lineups where you pick, say, Oberg and Fleetwood and Tom Kim this week, and then you go take 3 DP Tour guys all at 6K. Like there's a real curious question there. Did DraftKings not pay enough attention and get the pricing right or wrong this week?
I actually think they got it right, to be honest with you. I feel like these guys aren't as talented. I mean, you look at the leaderboards the last few years here, and you see that. Like I think last year was like, what was it, one DP guy in the top 15. Now you have guys like Tommy Fleetwood, who you could argue is more of a DP guy than a PGA Tour guy, really. Yeah. I mean, guys like him is a little bit different, obviously, but like I think they got it right, and I think that's going to trick people into doing what you just said. Who can I get cute with in the 5Ks? Who can I get cute with in the low 6Ks that maybe nobody else is going to own, but he's been pretty good the last 3 or 4 weeks? It's like the problem is it's going to lead you to the same spot most likely, and there's also a good chance these guys missed the cut because a lot of these times when these DP guys come on and play PGA events for the first time, they don't do well. So it's interesting. I think they got it right this week, actually.
Okay, I think the way I phrased it, it almost sounds like I'm getting too cute with trying to break down the pricing of the DP again, which is the problem, getting too cute. But also then you hear the bigger podcasts hyping up, certain guys every single year when we get to this week, next week with the Open Championship. How do you weigh? Because when we get to the majors and live guys come into play, we don't necessarily weigh live differently too much than the PGA Tour. We're like, oh, well, Cam Smith had a good finish or Bryson had a good finish at Live Adelaide or whatever. And, so they're hot right now. But you bring up a good point that the DP Tour guys are basically, it's not a minor league system, but a lot of the DP guys eventually, when they get good enough, do go to the PGA Tour eventually for that reason, Tommy Fleetwood being one of them. Do you weigh the DP Tour, as not a minor league, but a B league to an extent?
I do. For sure I do. Because I just think it's almost like, I don't want to even say that. Never mind. But say
it. This is a free country. Say what you like.
I was almost just going to say, like, it's almost like when you see these college football teams play Southern Louisiana Tech in the first week. It's like, you're not seeing them play against Ohio State or, a good team. It's like you see them play against these teams and it's misleading, I think.
Absolutely.
Part of it's like, it's a little bit different with Liv because you have guys like Bryson, Brooks, DJ, even though he's not as good anymore. It's like these guys have done it on the big level, like Cam Smith. Like they've done it on the highest level. You've seen them play well in majors. It's like these guys, first of all, you haven't even – this guy that you love so much and you can't wait to play and blah, 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 he's $6,300 or whatever. It's like you just heard about him last week or this week. Like, so, I mean, I don't know. It's not the same thing. It's not –
All right, let's look at this week's board. Obviously, like I said, there's a 5K range this week, obviously, with a stacked field. And, oddly, I'm curious what next week's going to look like pricing-wise because we're already up to 100 and I think I saw 59 golfers already qualified for the Open Championship. I mean, it's a big field next week, and there's at least 3 or 4 more spots that could qualify, I read. But the top of the board is the first time, highest-priced guy, Rory McIlroy, first time we've seen him since his collapse at the U.S. Open and his collapsed marriage and rekindled marriage and flings and all that stuff. It's the first time we're seeing Rory in a long time. He obviously plays well across the pond, especially in the UK because of, where he's from. Let's just start right there with Rory. Thoughts on Rory McIlroy this week? And, what was the break good for him, you think? Or do you worry about a little rust this week and this week just being really a tune-up for next week?
No, because he is a guy that does do that. He does look at things like a tune-up. Like he'll have the lower ball flight this week, getting ready for next week. But it's also, like you said, where he's from, like the part of the world where he's from. So I think it was the best thing for him, to be honest with you. I think it was a really smart decision to do what he did. And I think that I feel like I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh, I don't know if I can trust Rory this week. It's like, I feel like it's crazy if you don't play Rory this week. I'll be honest.
Okay.
Having said that, Xander's actually my favorite in this range, but I'm going to start every lineup, I think, probably with one of those two guys.
Okay, Rory and Xander. The thing with you bring up Rory and the tune-up, are you kind of surprised that some of the other guys, for the week before the Open, and it's in the same country, everybody's going over there for Royal Troon next week. That's Scottie Scheffler, Tony Finau, a bunch of other big name guys, some that actually still could use some tune up. Akshay Patea, to name a few former winners this year on tour, all are still sitting out. There's at least 5 or 10 guys in the top 40 that are sitting out this week. Are you kind of surprised by that?
I was. I think Scottie was the first one that I looked at. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't speak up, I don't know from experience. Like, do those guys normally play? Like, does Scottie normally play the Scottish? I don't know.
I hold on. I had it up and I didn't keep up last year's results. Hold on one second. Tournament history last year. Well, I guess I can't see Scottie. There's a couple guys in the top 10. There's only 5 guys from the top 10 last year that are actually in the field this week. So I'm assuming some of these guys, were in the field last year. I don't know. I mean, Scottie's game has had some hiccups, lately. You would think you'd want to tune up. You think you would want that fresher. But, somebody like Akshay Patea, I'm more excited that's taking the week off than Scottie because Akshay had played like 9 weeks in a row. And taking 2 or 3 weeks off is a good idea before the last major. Someone like Aaron Rai, who's in this field, has played literally like 27 weeks in a row, could use the week off this week, but is not. So I think it's a case-by-case basis. I agree with you. Rory is probably the best play, but I think I'm staying away from Rory because I think the ownership is going to go to Rory. I think the ownership is going to go to Xander. I am staying away from those guys because I think if you look at the top of the board, Rory, Xander, both over 11, Aubert, Colin Morikawa rounding out the top 10K range, I think you could get better value by playing Ludwig Aubert at 10.5 than Rory at 11.9. And ownership, there's about a 2% difference in ownership right now between the two. I think all their ownership is going to go up over the course of the week, but I think you can get a little bit more value. I'm going all in on Aubert as my top play instead of Xander. I don't think you can go wrong with the top 3 guys. I think you can make a case to stay off of Colin Morikawa's because of his inconsistency, but I would say that any of the top 3 guys would make excellent choices to anchor your player pool.
I agree with you too, and they're all long. And I mean, Xander's been such a good putter this year too. Like they're all long. I mean, I actually bet Morikawa this week, but I worry about him a little bit because of his lack of distance. Like, he hits a lot of fairways. That's great, but he might not be long enough to win at this course. And so this course, I think it's a bad rap, or this tournament in general gets a bad rap sometimes. I think for being the tune-up for the Open, when this is actually a really good field. I mean, a guy like Aaron Rai, I think he's only playing this week because he's won here before, number one. And number two, he's just like, his game fits this course really well. And he's playing probably the best golf of his career. So I don't know if it's like a strike while the iron's hot kind of thing, but like it almost, to take back to Scottie for a minute, like it's surprising he's not playing because his major, I think that's the least likely for him to win is the Open. So I agree with that. You want to get over there and play in like, it's not the same kind of course or anything, but like the wind and the weather, and it's a little chilly over there, and it's wet. It's different. It's different.
It's golf. A different style of golf in the UK for sure. Not just the links, the weather, everything. You talked about distance. We didn't talk about Renaissance Club in the course. I love these kind of funky courses where not the links. I hate link style courses. For my personal game, sucks links. I cannot control a golf ball normally, but I definitely can't control a golf ball when you have to flight it low. I always tell them, tee it up a little lower, hit down on it, I just can't do it. And there is a course out here in Chester County, Wyncote, that is set up to be the only link-style course in Chester County, like true links, and I hate it. Because whenever I go there, just add 10 strokes to my score every single time, guaranteed. That's why I haven't played there in years. But anyway, I love courses that are par 70s that have extra par 5 and par 3s. Because you got 3 par 5s, 5 par 3s on this. And the par 4s, most of them are a little longer. I think driving distance matters so much this week, and making birdies if the weather is in good shape. Because, it's not just hitting the driver far. And I bring this up all the time. If you hit your driver further than everybody else, you hit your 3-iron further than everybody else. You hit your 6-iron further than everybody else. So if you need to hit with an iron and hope for a rollout on the tight fairways on a link-style course, the longest hitters are going to thrive and be able to club down and still get that roll to get a 300-yard tee shot.
And you're hitting shorter clubs into the greens, which is
absolutely
better. Like greens in regulation is super important at this course. And so like if you're having a wedge into these greens, it's like that's a big advantage against, Joe Schmo that has a 7-iron. That's a huge advantage. So No, I completely agree with you on that.
And around the green and putting matters too, because when you're playing link style, you get longer drives. Everybody drives the ball a little longer because of the run out, as long as you hit the fairway, which means you might have there's some drivable par fours. There's a couple all the par fives are reachable in two, which means you're going to need to be able to play around the green or putt from. You always see people putting from the fairway from 100 yards out just because of the style of the course it is. You're around the green, you're putting, those kind of things matter. But because of the par fives and the par threes on this course, you need to be able to score on par five. And you need to be able to score on par threes to win this event. So I very rarely use scoring on par fours, par fives, par threes. But this week I am, because of the type of course it is.
Yeah, so I use it a lot on par fours and par fives, but never par threes. And that's a good point. Like you want to see
five par threes. You're going to have to birdie some of them, aren't you?
PBR, Eric Van Ruin, who is really good on par threes. Like that makes a huge difference here. So yeah, no, it's definitely important. And then I think you've heard what I've heard with the weather. Like it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad. It looks like it's going to be wet, but that doesn't really mean anything. Like it's more so like, is it going to be windy? And it doesn't look terrible at this point right now. But at the same time, like I feel like, are you protecting yourself at all with guys that are better in the wind just in case?
Yeah. I don't know. This week I'm not too concerned about it because I still think no matter what, the birdies are going to matter. See, the thing is, if you worry too much about the weather, and then the weather, when you're at resort courses or in places like Scotland or England, the weather report can change like that. So if you focus too much on it, it could be a fine point that you all right, I'm between these two guys. They check all the boxes, but this one also checks the bad weather box as well. Maybe that could be the final tipping point that pushes you over the ledge. Right. But I'm not focused just on the weather because literally they could say Wednesday morning that Thursday is going to be horrendous weather, and Thursday could have completely different than what they report. It's literally the hardest weather to predict in these areas of the world.
So I don't know if I know I can't be the only one that does this, but I wave stack every week regardless. Mm-hmm. So because of that, like you never know. It's like, yeah, obviously weather over there in Europe is a little bit different than here, but like even so, it's like, how often do we get fooled? Remember that players a couple years ago when it was like everybody was stacking the one wave and it ended up being the other wave that was easier? It's like, why not every lineup by any means, but like why not half your lineups wave stack? And then if there ends up being a huge wave advantage, or like what if weather comes in one of these afternoons and it just destroys everyone? Like it can. Even the weather was down last year, but Sunday was pretty bad. There was like 40-mile-an-hour gusts. So like you never know here.
You know, it's funny. You talk about wave stacks. You're on Rory and Xander. I'm on Ludwig. And they tee off like Rory and Xander are early morning tee times. Oberg is an afternoon tee time.
Yeah, it could be.
So it's funny. The guy I'm on is the opposite wave on the guy that you guys are on. So we'll see if the waves actually matter when the results come in at the end of the week. After the top 10K range, you got a really good 9K range with some really interesting plays. Obviously, Fleetwood is a very popular name at the top of the 9K range. Tom Kim is as well. Victor's not getting much love. Which is crazy because I still think he can win an Open Championship. He's just been inconsistent. Minwoo Lee. There's some names in the 9K range. Everybody's talking Fleetwood. Everybody's talking Tom Kim. Are they the names you're on, or are you on different names in this range?
It's hard because I mean, it's hard not to like those guys, obviously, with their history at this event. But like at the same time, I feel like there's other options that are just as good. Like Tom Kim has been awesome in this. Like he's been a lot better overall. I think he just got burned out the Rocket Mortgage, so I don't really put much into that. Like I feel like Hovland could win. I don't know if Tom Kim can win at this event, and I don't think Fleetwood can win. So it's like, well, they might be good DFS players. I wonder a little bit because it's like at a guy that's almost $10,000 like Fleetwood, you kind of need him to like win pretty much.
Yeah,
or come pretty close to winning, and I don't think he can do it. Like I would be more comfortable in this range going to Hovland, going to Hideki, who's good, especially if the wind picks up at all. And even like Minwoo Lee, it's like we've seen him win this tournament. And also, this is the kind of course that fits him. Like he's a bomb and putt guy. So it's like I feel more comfortable going with them, honestly, with the ownership.
You know what's funny? From Tom Kim up, everybody, we're partners with Fantasy National. We use their model making tools, their ownership projection tools and whatnot. Make sure you check them out, fantasynational.com. If you sign up for one of their paid programs, let them know. You heard about them on Fairway to Heaven. The red is the high-owned guys. Everyone from Tom Kim and up is in the red in ownership right now, which is kind of crazy. Minwoo Lee is a guy that I don't think he didn't make my final cut of my lineups just yet, the lineups I've made, but he was in my. He might have been one of the last two guys I just passed over because he hits the ball a ton, and that driving distance is going to matter. That par 5 scoring is going to matter. The making birdies is going to matter. Steve's saying, what about which Fitzpatrick? Because both Fitzpatricks are in this field, and the other Fitzpatrick actually did pretty well, or is doing pretty well on the DP Tour. Just
like
shots gained total. Shots gained total on the DP Tour, from other sites because Fantasy National doesn't cover them. He's in the top 10 shots gained total over the last 5 events. Just, Alex Fitzpatrick. Is it Alex or Adam or whatever his name is?
Alex, yeah. I actually like both. My only fear with Matt Fitzpatrick is that I feel like I would like him more if I knew the weather was going to be bad. The fact that there might not be wind, I feel like there's better options. But at the same time, you've seen him. I like Memorial as a course comp here, and 9K Fitz. I think he was 5th at the Memorial. He had one good finish here and one bad finish here. I'm pretty sure, but he's been really good. So I actually like both Fitzpatrick brothers, and I think Alex is 5,700. So I could get behind that. I think that's a made cut for sure.
Yeah, just do a lineup narrative and just start your lineup with both Fitzpatricks. How about that? Just go Fitz and Fitz with your first 2 clicks.
Then you can do the Hogard brother or whatever the name was. The Hogard brothers.
The Rasmus and the what's the other kid's name?
Nikolai?
I don't know.
Nikolai.
Yeah, something like that. Those hard European names to pronounce. Okay, stick around. There's a lot of difficult names to pronounce in this show, so just stick around for that. I'm on. I know everything you said about Fleetwood and Tom Kim. I'm still playing them. I did bet Tom Kim. I think he could theoretically win this event. Fleetwood cannot. I did bet Fleetwood though top 10 because I think he could finish in that 8, 9, 10 range for sure. So I did bet Fleetwood top 10 this week.
Can I ask you one question real quick? A betting question on him. Why do people bet him to win golf tournaments?
Well, I mean, he has won just before he became a PGA golfer.
Right.
Just on the DP Tour.
He's not going to win an event there when all these guys are there. He's just not.
No.
It's play him in DFS, play him in hard courses by all means, but you're just wasting money if you bet on him.
I'm shocked his ownership at 9. He's 9,900 Fleetwood. I'm shocked his ownership is as high as it is this week because, like you said, to pay off a 20% owned Fleetwood at 9,900, he's got to finish in the top 5.
But I'm glad they did it because if they don't do it, say he was 8,900, he would be 50% owned.
Yeah.
So it's
he's in 3 of my 8 lineups so far. Which is not a huge exposure to him in the amount of lineups I'm doing. But, on the flip side, there's almost 0% chance he wins it. 0. There's guys further down the board that I think have a better chance of winning than him.
Let me ask you a question. So in the lineups that you have Fleetwood, is he your second guy in then?
Oh, yeah. He's the second guy. Just so you know, so far, 7 lineups in. All 7 lineups I have Oberg in. He was the first click in. I've literally put 100% investment in Oberg this week. He was my first outright bet, and I literally bet 2 guys worth of money on Oberg to win. I really think he's going to win this event. So he's my biggest investment. I bet Oberg first place, top 10. He's 7 out of 7 lineups right now. So he's my number 1 play this week.
So it doesn't
without a doubt.
It doesn't worry you that he hasn't played on links courses, really?
No. He's just such a great ball striker. He's so great tee to green. He's a guy that is going to literally take over the tour here in the next year or so.
He's another guy, like we said, like Minwoo. Obviously, it's a poor man's example, but it's it's a bomb and putt guy. That's perfect.
No, I have no Valimaki shares. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. So make the jokes, K1. Valimaki? Am I anywhere close?
Yeah, that's exactly how you say it. So he was he was in the. I don't know if he was in the optimal lineup, but he was in the lineup that won 50K on DraftKings the other day. Last week.
What would you do if you won 50K? Seriously.
Be very happy.
Yeah, be very happy. That's right. All right, 8K range here. Starts off with Corey Connors, Justin Thomas, Brian Harmon, obviously the defending Open champion, Sung J M. There's some names. You got the former Open or U.S. Open champions, Wyndham Clark, Aaron Rai, who's played 87 events in a row. Jordan Spieth closes out this gap. I have 2 guys that I'm playing a lot of in this range. I started a bunch, but I have 2 guys in this range I'm playing a lot of. Where are you looking at in this range?
Tell me your guys first.
All right, Brian Harmon, 1. That was just he even though he's a shorter hitter, he still scores on link style courses because of his ball flight and the way he plays. not just because he's the Open champion from
No.
last year,
No.
just in general, he plays these styles of course as well.
Well,
And because of his distance, I went Wyndham Clark as my other play.
seems like Wyndham's starting to pick up his iron game a little bit, which is huge. So I like that. I'm going to go with a name that I agree with both of those, to be honest with you. They're both in my pool. But I have interest in JT this week, actually. For the first time in a long time, I feel like this kind of course, I feel like, well, I don't know about the new JT, but the old JT could have fit this course really well. So I'm going to play a little bit of JT this week at only 7%. That's kind of one of my sleepers of the week.
JT and Sung J M were two guys I wanted to play this week, but they just didn't make it to the final cut for me. Now, if I see, and this is where my new strategy of going with less names is coming into play. Earlier this year, I would have put lineups with him and JT in it. Sung J M has terrible course history, not just at this event, but also in the Open Championship period.
Yeah.
So I was able to not talk myself into exposing myself to somebody like that. Just sounded terrible.
So I had Sanjay too until I realized how awful his record had been, not only at this tournament but in the Open too. Same thing.
Yeah.
It was like I saw that,
and that's why I know you talked about the Memorial, and the Memorial is important to zone in on because same course designer, all that kind of stuff. But I made sure every player I played this week, I checked if they had bad Open Championship history or not, because I think that's very important. That gives you a good judgment on link style course.
Well, and there's a difference too of like mixed course history, like a guy like Fitz, like where it's like either a top 15 or he misses the cut. It's like Sunday just misses every cut. That's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and I could get behind Justin Thomas because Justin Thomas is great around the green. Justin Thomas still does a lot of things well. I can't commit to Justin Thomas until I see a little bit more from him, and I don't know if we will this year or not.
Yeah, I just like the price, and I think T5 at the Travelers showing a little bit, and I think he did good at the Memorial too. Oh no, 33rd. Yeah, okay, decent at the Memorial.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't mind him as a sleeper pick.
All right, so the 7K range starts out with last week's champion Davis Thompson at 7,900. I'm going to just go right ahead and say it. I am not a Davis Thompson guy this week. I hate playing guys the week after they win their first event, especially when you got to go from Detroit all the way over to Scotland after that. I cannot get behind that.
He also has never played here before, which with the weather is a big thing. That one I don't know.
Katsuragawa?
That one I don't know. It looks right.
Katsuragawa. I don't know. That's as good as I can do on that.
Yeah.
Yuto Katsuragawa. Something like that. I think K1's just looking at every guy in the 5K range and trying to find the hardest names to say.
Yeah. I don't know on that one.
I will say the 3 DP Tour guys I'm playing this week all are semi-easy names to pronounce, K1. I specifically picked guys I could say the name of just to make it easier.
This is an interesting range, though, to me. I think, like, you see guys like Max Homa. I'm going to be playing Max Homa for sure. T12.
Hold on, let me cut you off. Why Max Homa for sure? Because, yes, Max Homa has good course history, has played well at the Open at times, but Max Homa is having a horrendous – Max Homa is 7,700. That's all you need to know about how his season's going.
That's part of it, 7,700. T12 and T16 here. He also did the same exact thing last year where he slumped in the summer, where he's kind of slumped the whole year this year, but like he really slumped in the summer, and then he kind of picked it up a little bit right at the Scottish Open. So that's why I like that. I think the upside's there with him, so it's part of the reason why I like him too. Just to kind of go through a couple other guys that I like a lot in this range. I like Zayden Hoot, your guy, Seabass. I like Adam Scott here too. I think his game fits his course really well. Like he's a longer guy with, kind of like a drive and putt guy a little bit too. So I like Adam Scott a lot this week as a safer play.
We got K1 asking about Guido here. I'm just going to call him Guido because that's who he is. Guido's a guy I normally like. He did win three events ago on the DP Tour at the KLM Open and the Italian Open. He finished 22nd. He's not on my card this week, but he is a guy that I contemplated just because he's, we're all Italians are related in some way, shape, or form. So,
I used to play Guido all the time when he was on.
Me too. And I might play him next week. But again, because I'm going 8 lineups versus 28 lineups, I'm able to not play as many guys and take as many chances.
Right.
That's right. For Yeah, thanks, Blanche. I appreciate that. The number one Blanche in the world right there. Anyway, I just couldn't get. I put Max Homa down on my list. I even started thinking like I'll put an extra star next to a name to really zone in on them. I just couldn't pull the trigger. I went one up and one down. I went Bobby Mack with a couple clicks, and I went Benny on a couple clicks, one up, one down for him.
Which it's hard to argue either one of those plays. I feel like Benny On's going to be really popular. I think that's the only knock against him. I think Bobby Mack's another guy that fits well. I mean, he's a good putter. He's good, and he's long. So it's like that's another guy that, in theory, should play really well. I don't know if he has good course history here or not.
I mean, he started on the DP Tour, so he got his start.
He's used to this kind of course.
And the weather and everything else like that. I don't have a huge amount of exposure to Bobby Mack, but I've got some.
Second here last year, so that matters.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Steve asking about EVR. I think we already mentioned EVR's name once.
I love EVR.
Was it for par 3 scoring we mentioned him?
Par 3 scoring. He's one of the best par 3 scorers, and also he's good in the wind. So, and there's no water
par
on
3
the
scoring win. He's a good ball striker. He
No
doesn't
water.
hit the ball a ton, but good enough.
You don't play EVR on courses that have water. I think there's only one water hazard on this course, so that's good.
Yeah, EVR was one of my EVR, Minwoo Lee, and Max Homa were my 3 final cuts that didn't make the final cut of my player pool. So, but they were guys I wanted to play. But again, this is the new strategy of mine, and I was able to, back off of those guys.
Two guys I like at the bottom of this range a little bit that I thought were going to be less popular than they are. Tom Hoagie, he's showing 9.5% right now, which I was hoping he'd be like 4%. And then Ryan Fox is another guy that's super long. He's 8%. So I was hoping that we would see them 5 or under, but I'm going to play both those guys, I think.
I'm all over Ryan Fox. I got Ryan Fox. I got a top 20 on Ryan Fox. He's in a bunch of my lineups. I don't have Hoagie, but I did go a guy a little higher owned than Tom Hoagie with Dietrich. So I'm in the bottom end. I'm on Thomas Dietrich and Ryan Fox, guys also from Europe, guys that have played link style plenty of times in their past. Maybe not this course specifically, but they're used to the weather. They're used to anybody that got their start in the DP Tour to an extent. You can take that they have some experience in this type of a tournament where the weather could turn in a second and not be affected.
Well, I think you want guys like Ryan Fox who are used to playing in bigger tournaments. Like a lot of these DP guys don't play in tournaments like this very often. It's like, Fox, you've seen Fox. He struggles a lot sometimes when he comes overseas, but you've seen him a lot in the majors. So he knows what it's like.
I do have one guy at the bottom here, the first DP Tour guy that I did put in my player pool this week. Because that's the thing. You've got to make sure you do your research. There are some DP guys where it's a lesser tour. It's still a tour where these guys are playing. Some of these guys are going to make the cut. And Tom McKibben at 7K, I dabbled with him this week. Let me just read off his results lately. In his last events on the DP Tour or the World Tour, whatever you call it, 2nd and 6th, made the cut at the U.S. Open, then went 8th place, 23rd place, 7th place. So since April, he's got a heck of a lot of top 10s, plus made the cut at the U.S. Open. Tom McKibben at 7K. That was the first DP Tour guy I went with.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. What's it, 9%? Yeah, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, and he's out of the There's 2 guys in the DP Tour that are getting a decent amount of ownership right now, him and Jordan Smith. Jordan Smith's a guy, we've heard his name before. I'm surprised he hasn't made the move over to the PGA Tour yet because he's had success in majors and on the DP Tour. But and I do have Jordan Smith at 6,600 in my player pool this week because I kind of feel like I have to put him in every time we get across the pond.
He's been awesome here at this course too. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And only 12% ownership. That's not terrible.
I don't for a 6,600 guy. Normally, you'd be a little scared of a 12% 6,600. But in this field, I'm not too concerned with it.
Yeah, agreed.
Any of the I've got some names here. Not names I use, but names I thought about using from the DP Tour. Soderberg, Nakajima, Cantor, Michael Jordan's twin brother, Jordan. There are some DP Tour guys down here at the bottom. Do you like any of them?
No. To be honest, no. I really don't. I think there's a lot of value of PGA guys in this range. I think Matthew Pavone has proven he's a big game guy. You've seen him show up at the Travelers. You saw him show up at the PGA, I think, and it's or maybe it was U.S. Open. But I think there's a lot of names in this range that aren't DP guys. I guess Victor Perez is probably my favorite. I guess he's more of a DP guy. But I like Pavone. I like Kitayama. Ben Griffin's been awesome. Seamus has been really good. I just feel like there's more. I'd rather know what I'm getting from these guys,
Mhm.
and like these guys that are consistently, PGA guys that are playing pretty well right now too. So I like that.
K1 asking about Sepp Straka. Thoughts on Sepp Straka this week? He did rank out well in my model. I don't have any access to him. There's one time playing this event, he missed the cut. So
Straka, yeah, he missed the cut here.
7,600. His ownership projection is about 5% right now.
Yeah. He looked bad last week. So I typically am a guy who plays him pretty much every week that he's in. I'm probably not going to play him this week. I just worry. He's played a lot too, and I worry about that.
Absolutely agree. So you're going to use no DP Tour guys in your model in your lineup?
Probably not, to be honest with you. Probably not. I guess Victor Perez is like an in betweener. Like I like him a lot at 6,300, but I don't think so, to be honest.
I did dive deep into the bottom here, and this is more because I would have known nothing about him. I wouldn't even have looked this low on the board if it wasn't for Len Hochberg's article that I weekly read. And I do let that affect me a little bit. And he did go with Marcel Siem, 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 I think is how you say it, 5,400. He's 400 to 1 to win. He won the Italian Open 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And he might have missed a cut last week, but before that, he's basically a cut maker on the DP Tour and's got a championship. So I put him in one lineup at 5,400. I was able to build a lineup with Aubert, Tom Kim, Tommy Fleetwood, all in my lineup, and still get some guys in the upper 7K range because I did play one lineup with him at 5,400. So it really did help me balance my lineup out a little bit. And the guy, like I said, he literally just won 2 weeks ago. So
yeah, that's a good play. I didn't know who he was, but
yeah, I never heard of him. Like I said, I read Len's article and John, John's article every week, and then I use that plus my knowledge to make opinions, and that's where I got on. Real quick before we do this, we have not done any ad reads yet, and we're 45 minutes into the show. So let me shout out some of our great sponsors outside of Fantasy National. Obviously, SherryTickets.com. Great moments don't just happen; they happen with you in the crowd. SherryTickets.com is easy to use and has no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Pay less, play more. SherryTickets.com. Promo code EOP10 at checkout gets you 10% off. Not just sports tickets, concert tickets, theater tickets, you name it, they got it. And if you need a personal touch, you can call them 610-494-5050. Again, SherryTickets.com, promo code EOP10. Of course, our friends at PhillySportsTrips.com, the premier travel and tailgating experience company there is on the East Coast. Make sure you sign up on their website. Let them know EOP sent you. They got some great trips planned over the rest of this year. Of course, obviously, week 1 in Brazil to see the Eagles take on the Green Bay Packers. Tailgate experiences like Italian Heritage Celebration. Maybe Guido will be there after winning the Scottish Open at Italian Heritage Celebration. You never know. They're already taking deposits for Clearwater trips for next year. Jason, maybe you want to go to Clearwater with me and see the Phillies, since you'll need a real team. The Phillies will be defending their World Series championship in spring training next year.
That's
so
right.
You got that there.
Hey, listen, we'll be coming off a Lions Super Bowl just in time for spring training.
A Lions Super Bowl. Oh, that's a bold. A Lions Super Bowl and a Phillies World Series. There you go. And of course, let's just get through all of them right now. David Archerry, the Cherry Law Firm, the best workers' compensation lawyer there is in PA. Also, personal injury, motor vehicle accidents, criminal law. Give them a call, cherryinjurylaw.com, or call him 610-565-0300. Again, 565-0300, cherryinjurylaw.com. And finally, Dolan's Bar in Ridley Park, 65 plus years, the #1 quintessential Irish American dive bar in Delaware County. Great food, great times. DolansBar.com. There, that was a mouthful. I went through all 4 ad reads all in 60 seconds.
Much better than last week. You got this week for sure.
Yeah. I did okay. I got one cherry bomb in the comments. So that's all that matters to me. All right. So last week, what happened with the lineups last week? How did we do? And who won last week?
We did not do well. Rashad won. You came in second. I came in third. I had a miserable lineup. I think I told you earlier. I had a 3 of 6. All my other guys were, I think it was 10 of 10. There you go. I had all the good players in the event in my lineup, but it was only 3 of 6. So, yeah, Rashad won. So that takes the guess up to 5. You're at 9, and I'm at 11. So
okay. All right. I got it. I think I did.
You beat me, so I'm going to be picking first this week.
Okay. That works. That's fine. I got to switch to a new piece of paper. So Jason first, me second. Let's see where it goes here.
I think I probably don't need to take this guy first. I don't think you're going to take him anyway, but I'm going to take Xander.
Right away. Yeah, I would not have taken him. And I'm just going to go right off. And this will mean I will continue my trek of 100% lineup usage on Aubert. So I'm just going to go Aubert right from the get-go.
I like it.
Yeah. Have you ever done that before? 100% exposure to one player.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never done the most I've ever gone was last year, right before he got hurt. I went Will Zalatoris in one of the tournaments. I think I put him in like 15 or 20 lineups, and it was the tournament he withdrew because of his back. And it totally killed me, 5 holes into the tournament. So
yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that's real rough.
I'm gonna ride a guy that has been really good lately. T25 here last year too. I'm gonna go Ben Griffin.
Ben Griffin. We didn't talk about him, but
he's a
golfer that's had a good season.
He's not gonna wow you in any factor, but like he's just solid on approach. He's a good putter. Like I just like him.
Okay. We're gonna go Ryan Fox with my next pick here.
I was debating between him and Fox.
I wanted to make sure I got Fox into my lineup here. So I went Fox there.
All right, I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go Seabass.
Seabass. Didn't even know he was in the field. I wasn't even paying attention. Like his name didn't come across anywhere for me this week.
He was so popular for so many weeks. Like, and he didn't do anything to not be popular. I feel like so. I like him this week.
All right, I'm gonna go and make sure there's at least one DP guy taking McKibben at 7K as well as my third guy.
McLovin, you said?
McLovin, yeah, that's right. McLovin. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna go Max Homa.
Max Homa. That's. It's either going to pay off so massively for you. What is Max Homa's ownership right now?
It is
9%.
9.4. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's either going to pay off. That's going to kind of be like last week at Jordan Spieth. Was the round 2 or round 3 when he went super low? I ended up putting Jordan Spieth in like half my lineups last week, and for a stretch there last week when he went off,
nuclear.
my lineup skyrocketed because of him. And then he kind of came back down the rest of the
tournament. He kind of
has
that one round in every tournament where you're like, oh my god, he's so good again. Then it's not really there.
And then you realize not at all. All right, we're gonna go Thomas Dietrich with my next pick.
It's a good pick.
Yep. I kind of feel like I might have to double check. I feel like I may have already made this lineup. A lot of guys I've used a lot of this week, so I kind of feel like that this is gonna be a dupe, and I might have to change one of my other lineups at some point.
I am going to make a last-minute audible, and I'm going to go Aaron Rye.
Ooh. You don't worry about the amount of lineups amount of contests he's played in?
I do, but I also like that he fits the course really well. He seems like he's a lot better putter now, so I like that, and he's won here before. So,
the guy that you said you were not too thrilled with, I'll go Tom Kim with my next pick.
I said I'm not too thrilled, but I also did bet him too, so take that for what it's worth. I'm gonna go my last pick. I'm gonna go Wyndham Clark. I'm gonna go with the hype and see what happens.
Say his name.
Bezuidenhout.
Say his name. Joe Hendry. We believe in Joe Hendry, K1. If you know, you know. I'm sorry. Who'd you go with your last pick there?
Wyndham Clark.
All right. Well, that's good because I was either going to go with Wyndham Clark or Brian Harman. So I'm going to go Brian Harman with my last pick. So to recap, guys, I went Oberg, Fox, McLovin, Dietrich, Kim, and Harman. Jason went Xander, Griffin, Seabass, Homa, Rye, and Clark. Do I got that right?
I actually like both of our lineups a lot this week, to be honest.
Yeah, I think both of them are really solid, strong lineups. There's a chance we both have money lineups here.
It's like we have a mix of we both have a mix of safety and also upside, I feel like.
Yeah. I don't think there's any out of the lineups, and this is not to say on you or anything, Max Homa, is he the riskiest of the 12 names we just named?
Yeah.
And Max Homa's a guy a year ago we were talking about when's he going to win a major.
Hey, tell K1 that Bezuidenhout, as he would say, was my third pick.
Yeah. Seabass is how you say Bezuidenhout when you can't say Bezuidenhout, basically. Just so you know. All right. So I'm feeling good there. I'm liking that. I'm liking how this has turned out so far. I got to double check and make sure this is not a dupe for me, though.
I said Seabass, and Jamie just texted me and said Seabass.
Seabass?
Yeah. She said Seabass.
I love it.
Yep.
All right. Where are we at with the one and dones? I don't even remember who I picked last week.
You picked Sanjay M, which was a good pick. I think he finished 6th last week.
Yeah.
So that was a good pick. I had Straka, which was not a good pick. He finished 61st. So you gained
Well,
some
you still
ground.
made money, so I didn't make up that much round.
Well, yeah, I made 19,000 or 15,000 or something. Not much.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sanjay ended up having like 122,000 for you.
So I closed the $5 million gap in our one and dones by like $100,000.
You did. You want to pick first this week, or you want me to?
No, I got to let you pick first every time because I got to pick somebody different than you every single time.
All right, I'm gonna go with a guy that I don't think well, what do I want to do here? I'll go Tom Kim.
Tom Kim? Okay. I've already used Tom Kim, I believe, this year, so I couldn't even go with him if I wanted.
Yeah.
I have not used Oberg, have I?
No.
All right, that's my pick.
You're really going for it.
I've got, like I said, outright bet at 14-1. I got a top 10 bet at plus 175 on him. He's 8 of 8 lineups. He's my one and done. I'm all in on him. That is the ultimate all in. An outright, a top 10, a one and done, and 100% lineup usage. I don't think you can get any more all in than that.
No.
And he's going to withdraw one hole. One swing into the tournament, he's going to withdraw.
And he's going to act up again, and it's all over.
Guarantee it happens. Anybody else out there, just fade Oberg 110% because of my usage of him. That is without a doubt what's going to happen right there, right?
Yep, exactly.
All right. Well, I mean, I didn't go over all my bets. I do have Oberg and Tom Kim. I did bet Benny on 50-1 and Thomas Dietrich 70-1. They're my outrights, and like I said, Fleetwood and Oberg top 10s. I got a bunch of top 20s, but that's it right there. Who did you bet this week?
I bet Morikawa at 12-1. I bet Rory to win plus Fleetwood top 10 at 25-1. I bet Tom Kim at 25-1. Hideki at 28-1. Xander to win plus Tom Kim top 10 plus 33-20. And a long shot Matthew Pavone at 110-1.
I told you I love the long shot of Pavone there. I'm not using him this week. He was one of the guys that didn't make the cut, but I love that. I love that chance right there.
I think it's hit and miss because he's never played there before, but I feel like his upside, he's got the best upside of anybody below 7.
Yeah, I agree with that right there. Guys, make sure you hit the like button, the share button, the subscribe button, the follow button, wherever you are watching. Because again, 7-day-a-week programming. Hell, we even got Summer League post-game show tonight on this channel. 35 plus shows on this channel this week. So make sure you're locked and loaded to Edge of Philly Sports. I'd greatly appreciate it. Edge of Philly Sports would greatly appreciate it. Everyone's kicking ass and taking names, so make sure you guys are locked and loaded on this channel.
Can I
Jason,
do one
I gotta ask you a question. What's up? Yeah, go for it.
Before we do this, well, we're on that topic right now of Edge of Sports or Edge of Philly Sports. I feel like a lot's talked about like what you guys are doing right now, and rightfully so. And we've got some haters out there. We'll just put it that way of guys that are hating.
You do.
You started the trend. I just want to say this. You started the trend of your morning show, and it's going big right now. And what you're doing plus this show is big. And Edge of Philly Sports is where it's at right now. And I think there's some people that work for other companies that want to take shots because you know what they say. I don't know what
Look, I know what you're saying. I was gonna end with something fun, but you ended it with that deep moment there.
We'll just say one more line. Imitation is the best form of flattery.
I used to always say I set the trends. Everybody else is just copying me, right?
I'd rather be the first to do it than the follower.
It depends on what you're talking about, being the first to do it.
Yeah, jumping off a bridge or something. Yeah.
See, speaking of people copying, I don't know if you saw this, and this is for K1 for tomorrow on the morning show. And if you haven't seen it yet, you gotta go look up. Imitation is the serious form of flattery and all that kind of stuff. But there's certain movies and TV shows that don't need reboots and don't need sequels. And there's one about to come out that I was dreading the first trailer. Did you see the trailer for the sequel that's been years and years in the making today?
No.
Gladiator 2's official trailer came out. Let me tell you something. If the trailer is anything close to as good as the movie is, it's going to be an amazing movie. The trailer was straight fire. And I'm pumped to go watch Gladiator 2 now. So, yeah.
It is weird. I worry. Like some shows or movies that have that, like, it's like they're like legendary. You know what I mean? Like, it's like there's only one place you can go. And it's like some movies, yeah, for sure. But then there's like other ones that like Rocky 5. Like you came after probably the best sports movie.
What, you didn't like Tommy Gunn?
No, you came with after number 4, which was by far the best one. You come back with Tommy Gunn. R.I.P.
Oh, man. Anyway, with that being said, guys, we're going to wrap up Fairway to Heaven for the week. Next week, we'll be back. Open Championship. Make sure your lineups are locked because when do the contests start? Like, while we're sleeping, the contests start. You know, like 4 a.m. So make sure your lineups are locked. And double check them before you go to bed because 2 a.m. 2 a.m. lineups locked. So get them locked and then go to bed, basically, is the way it works, guys. With that being said, for Jason Sullivan, I am Phil Stiefel. Guys, very simple end to every show. Bubbles up.